Can the Amazing Digital Circus even be replaced? A lot of people started talking about what comes next. Some were discussing new glitch projects, some are hoping for Game of, and others are already looking for the next series that could take the Amazing Digital Circus's place. And the more comments I read, the more I found myself thinking about one question. What exactly are people trying to replace? The show itself or the emotions that came with it? Because if we're only talking about the show, then the answer is pretty simple. Sooner or later, something new will come along. That's just how the internet works. Today, everyone is talking about one project, and tomorrow they'll be focused on something else. But if we're talking about emotions, things get a lot more complicated. I think everyone has that one game they wish they could experience for the first time again. Not replay it, but truly experience it for the first time. When you don't know the story, don't know the characters, and have no idea what's waiting for you around the corner. The same thing happens with movies, TV shows, and even music. Sometimes we don't want to rewatch something. We want to erase our memory of it and discover it all over again. But that's not how it works. And maybe that's exactly why some experiences become so valuable to us. When I think about the Amazing Digital Circus, I don't just remember the show itself. I remember waiting for new episodes, reading theories, and watching discussions unfold. I remember people trying to predict what would happen next, finding tiny details that everyone else missed, and building entire theories around them. Honestly, there were times when waiting for a new episode was almost as exciting as watching the episode itself. Seriously, think about it. A new episode comes out, you watch it in 20 minutes, and then you spend the next week reading discussions, watching breakdown videos, and coming up with your own ideas about what might happen next. And that's something you can never truly get back, because anticipation only exists once. You can't wait for the first episode a second time. You can't create the same theories again. You can't experience the same uncertainty twice. When a story reaches its end, we finally get answers. But along with those answers, the questions disappear too. And sometimes the questions were the most exciting part of the journey. And you know what's funny? While a show is still running, we're constantly trying to rush time forward. Seriously, we wait for a new episode and think, come on, when is the next one coming out? Then we wait for another episode, and another one after that. It feels like the finale is still far away. It feels like there's plenty of time left and that this story will continue for years, but then one day, almost out of nowhere, you realize the ending is already here, and suddenly it hits you that you were so focused on what would happen next that you never noticed how quickly the entire journey passed by. And I don't think this only applies to TV shows. It happens with almost everything good in life. When we're living through a certain chapter of our lives, it feels like it will last forever. But years pass, and one day you realize the chapter has already become a memory. Maybe that's why people have such a hard time saying goodbye to stories they love. Not because they're afraid of the ending itself, but because endings remind us how quickly time moves. And there's one more thing I want to mention. I've seen plenty of people looking for flaws after the finale. Some say certain episodes were better, others say the show didn't turn out the way they expected, or that the story should have ended differently. And honestly, that's completely fair. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. But sometimes it feels like people get so focused on finding the perfect ending that they forget to look at the entire journey. Because no matter how good or bad a finale may be, it doesn't erase everything that came before it. It doesn't erase years of anticipation. It doesn't erase discussions. It doesn't erase emotions. And it certainly doesn't erase memories. If you think about it, that's the real legacy of any great show. Not the final episode, but everything that happened between the first one and the last. And I think a lot of people aren't just sad because the series is ending. They're sad because a certain chapter of their lives is ending too. Whether we realize it or not, some projects become part of our everyday lives. We wait for updates, follow the news, talk about them with friends, watch videos about them, and before we know it, we've become more attached than we ever expected. That's why I don't think the question, who will replace the Amazing Digital Circus, is really the right question. No one will replace it, just like nobody.